Hello, one and all. Tony East here on the floor of Gainbridge Fieldhouse, where the Pacers just won their second game in a row for just the second time this season. They beat the Pelicans by 4 in a game that shouldn't have been that hard for the Pacers. 2 wins in a row, and I don't think they feel like they played particularly awesome. This one, a fight mostly the whole way. Pacers' dominant start, and the Pelicans were honestly better after that point, but Pelicans took a lead, evened it up. Pacers battled back to get this win. They had to battle all night. The second half was extremely close the whole half. No team's lead got more than, I'd say, 6 in the second half. I can't remember if it was 6 or 7. And that kind of game can be tough. Every basket's very important. Every stretch is very important. And for the defining stretch and moments of the game, the last 5 to 7 minutes, the Pacers were better. They took a lead with about 5 minutes to go to get it done. That's what they needed. They desperately needed a win like this where they could hold on in the clutch after not having the key stretch coming. In about the middle of the fourth, 7 minutes to go, it's 95-95, 5:28 to go, Pacers are up 7. That stretch of basically 2 minutes where they got a bunch of stops in a row and scored was the difference, but you don't care about the difference. You could have watched the game and known all that. What matters is what was said after the game about the 2 biggest stories of this night to me, maybe 3, and the biggest one, of course, being Tyrese Haliburton came alive for the Pacers. 34 points. That's his second most of the season for this Pacers team, reigning in threes. He made 9 threes. The Pelicans made 9 as a team. That was absolutely massive for the Pacers. They got up 47 threes, and look, Haliburton took 18, obviously, but when he can create threes as a passer as well, he had 13 assists. His teammates were sort of making threes, sort of not. I mean, that's when he's at his best and can make the Pacers offense as good as possible. So when the ball's pumping 2 shooters from a shooter, and tonight he was a shooter and making them at a point where he should be taking that many and setting up others for important shots. Quentin Jackson made huge threes. Miles Turner hit huge ones early and late. Obi Toppin finally got one to go again on a pass from Haliburton. Like, that all mattered a great deal. So huge from Haliburton to have 34. Obviously, the three-pointer was a big part of the Pacers swinging this game in their favor because the Pelicans were better in a lot of other ways. The other thing he did very well is 13 assists. 34 is his second best scoring night of the season. That Knicks game in this very building, the only one topping it. 13 assists, also his second biggest night of the season, setting up his teammates, keeping the offense flowing. The bench, not great for the Pacers today. The starters in the front court, they were trying to figure out who should be out there and when, but when Haliburton was out there, the Pacers were great. He was plus 16 in this game, 12 for 23, 13 assists, 3 steals. He's been in the gaps all season, 3 boards all in the first quarter. That is who they need in times like this. They had a game today. Lots of guys chipped in here and there. We'll talk about 2 in particular who I thought were pretty good, right? But they needed someone to take them to this win. It's a back-to-back. It's a team that already beat you this season. The Pelicans are getting great play from some role players. Awesome Elfrid Payton game. Awesome Yves Missi game. Right? Trey Murphy was going early. They needed someone to carry them past a group like that. And yes, they should not need that. They should be a better group. But Haliburton did it on a season where he has not had those kind of nights very often. He found a way to wiggle himself open in isolation and set up himself and others for threes. That's the story of this game. Is this a turning point? I don't know. Is this even the night you could call the turning point? I think it's actually the more interesting question about this game. Obviously, the stats are going to say huge game, huge outing, huge moment for his season. Right? I asked him after how he's feeling. Is it relief? Is it excitement? Of course, winning makes it easier for him to smile and say, yes, things went great. But I think that for him, it's kind of been tough to get through this and find the joy in basketball again. And that's what he was describing to us post-game. He found the joy tonight. He was skipping. He was throwing risky alley-oops that were successful. Huge game for Haliburton. I think the turning point for him was halftime in Milwaukee. I don't know what woke up in him, but he's been on fire since then. 5 for 11 the game before this from deep, 9 for 18 tonight. Good in the second half of that game as well. That's 10 straight quarters of him hitting from 3. He obviously has to sustain it after a slumpy start to the year, but that is the story for the Pacers. Their star player looking much more like the guy that existed for a lot of last season in a win as the Pacers get to 8-10. I think half game out of a playoff spot. The East is so clunky. 2 other guys who deserve a ton of shine for what they did for the Pacers in this game. One's Quentin Jackson. I mean, I have to write about him, right? I already wrote about the Pacers' 2-way players stepping up when needed, but Quentin Jackson, and this is sort of necessity and sort of me maybe overplaying this a little bit, but like he's had the ball a lot and when I watched him before with the Wizards when they were tanking at the end of their season 2 years ago, with the Mad Ants last year, even a little bit when he got stints with the Pacers last season. He had the ball, and he's kind of like a toggle hybrid on-ball, off-ball guard, and the role he is in right now, whatever position you want to call him in this starting group between Haliburton and Mathurin in the front court, 2, 3, whatever, he's much, much, much more off the ball. And he is primarily out there to defend. He's gotten tough assignments, in this stretch. Dame Lillard will highlight that, but tonight he had to guard CJ McCollum, right? Like, he had the best Wizards guard, whoever that happened to be at the time. That's not a particularly, like, name sexy group for who he's defending, but he had to guard the best player a lot that night, and they've needed him to do that. He was 0 for 5 against Washington, but he's been pretty good in that defensive role, and tonight, 4 threes. All of them, I swear. I mean, this is maybe not possible. This might just be me remembering big shots, but it felt like all of them were 2-point game, tied game, close game. They really needed a bucket to keep rolling, and Quentin Jackson stepped up and hit it all from different spots too. A couple from the corner, top of the key wing. Massive for him to give him those 12 points. 32 minutes from a two-way contract guard who many questioned why he even got on the spot in the summer back in July. Well, this is why, because he can play. He can do stuff. Really liked by his teammates for his attitude, the way he hustles. 4 assists as well, no turnovers, plus 19, right? I know that plus minus can't be everything, but it did feel like the Pacers were a little bit different of a beast when he was out there. He was finding a way to chase McCollum at times, even though CJ did get going a little bit with 23 points, although it took him 20 shots to get there. The defense was there, the shooting was there. Not a guy the Pacers will expect to rely on for 4 threes every night, but on a night that every basket was massive and critical, a 4-point win, every 3 was that huge. It was a free throw game late, right? Any one shot could have changed this game. Quentin Jackson, massive night. And it's impossible to overstate how important it's been for the Pacers that he has played more like a rotation player than a two-way contract player this year. Given how banged up they've been, to have him be sort of reliable even is already a nice floor. To be good in some of these games, in Houston he was great. Tonight he was very effective. That's been huge for them. Miles Turner also deserves a ton of kudos for the way he played today. Back-to-back, he's dealing with calf soreness. He missed their last back-to-back a week ago in Toronto, right? And it's tough to play in these, especially for the Pacers. Like, Miles Turner told us after the game, like, he wants to play every game. It's the NBA, and some guys don't always play every game. He wants to, but the thing is, I would understand the Pacers in their situation, down both of their other centers they went through training camp with, being like, we cannot risk a calf thing with Miles Turner. Credit where credit's due. He played 28.5 minutes. Foul trouble limited that number. He got his 5th in the middle of the fourth quarter and stuck with it without fouling out. That was huge. He made all of his 2-point shots tonight and sprinkled in 2 threes. 17 points, 9 boards for Miles Turner. A couple nice defensive sequences. Really got on the team for some defensive miscues in the fourth quarter. And then when they heated up defensively, he was on the floor. That was massive. He was plus 21 in this game. Yves Missi was feasting on non-Miles Turner lineups. When it was Turner versus Missi, it was a very fun game. Turner was huge to both play through that injury, to finish plays, to play with a bunch of passion. He had a 7-point solo stretch in the fourth quarter. That was huge in this game. So the Pacers got good stuff from a lot of guys, right? Moses Brown, once again, was efficient. Pascal Siakam was just, as he is, 14, 7, and 7. Ben Mather on the glass once again. Huge. Like, they got good minutes from a lot of guys here and there, but those 3 stood out to me. Haliburton carrying the team, Quentin Jackson sprinkling in massively critical shots in this game, and Miles Turner battling through injury. When they need a center to step up, he did it. That's how you win a game for the Pacers and get to 8-10. 2 more at home this week. I said before this homestand, with some crummy teams in town, with the Pacers all 4 at home, they needed to win at least 3 and ideally 4 to get back to 500 by the end of the week. Well, they're now 2 for 2 with 2 to go. If they win one of the 2, I think they'll be mostly happy with this week. If they win all 4, they'll be thrilled. I'll be back here, Portland, on Wednesday, breaking it all down for you on this here channel. Hope you guys enjoyed this one and learned something. For much more analysis on this game, I'll have stories and a podcast tomorrow on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for listening. See you very soon.